We have some questions, David. I'm
Okay,
going to read out the first question.
okay.
Question is, how do we know whether the data we are looking at is telling us the whole story rather than bullshit?
You have to trace down. This is really what it's about. We started off explaining, oh yes, it's all about exports. Oh no, it's all about market share. But we have to trace down to where we're going. And the information, by the way, is out there. You want to know about trade? You go to the International Trade Center in Geneva. They have information on 300, up to 300 countries, exports and imports on every conceivable product. They'll go to 6 digits on HGS numbers. You have to be educated in this area, you know, and you have to match your results, your conclusions with what happens. The problem we face today is that the strategies we have are not leading to the conclusions we expect. It's time to recognize, hey, there's something wrong. Our toolbox is screwed up. We have to learn, we have to become better educated. We have to learn from our mistakes.
I agree with you on this, but again, when it says, does it tell the whole story? No, data is data, numbers are numbers. It's just a matter of attitude. Somebody says, wow, thank God I have half a glass. And the other one says, oh, I got missing half a glass. Let me go work for and get the other half. Question now is, do we recognize the glass is only half full? Doesn't matter whether it's half empty, half full.
Ram,
You want to be
you and
satisfied with what you have, or do you want to go after what is missing in there?
I,
That is,
Ram, you and I were not born with these abilities. We had to learn, we had to study, we had to understand, we had to see from our mistakes. Anybody in our industry can do the same thing if they put how they do the input. You're right. Data is just numbers. Data doesn't have an opinion. Data just tells you this is what it is. And you can go, if you want American data, you go to the Office of Textiles and Apparel. Excellent data on imports into the United States.
yeah.
Okay, next
Okay, I
question. We have
got more questions here. This is a question on coronavirus.
yes.
Coronavirus has forced many major buyers to rethink their supply chain. In doing so, they are not concerned about the value evaluation from Bangladesh or India, but looking at ways to reduce the volume of individual orders and to speed delivery. How does India or Bangladesh deal with this issue?
This is a very good question. The first thing you do is you recognize the need for speed to market, the need for smaller orders has nothing to do with the virus. We've been moving in that direction for 10 years. The era when some guy was going to come in and put orders for 50, 100,000 dozen on your table, if they're doing that, you're not going to make any money. You have to be able to deal with orders of under 1,000 pieces, even even for mid-sized companies, and speed to market. You know, you Hugo Boss 15 years ago built a factory in Turkey for men's suits, and that factory churned in 6 days. My God, if you can do a worsted men's suit from fabric on the table to goods packed ready to go in 6 days, what business do you have spending 6 weeks making a t-shirt? The industry is changing. You have to build for this. And it's going through a generational shift. We're both all seeing this. The new generation of people taking over these family businesses have more education. They have greater knowledge of the world at large. They have to move forward to where the world is going.
I agree. I have one more thing to add in there when it comes to list of questions. Another question, are customers and brands purposely keeping their eyes closed to the problems in Bangladesh and India?
No, they're walking away. That's the part. They don't have the Bangladesh doesn't have a license to produce. Customers work with them because they think it's worthwhile. They're finding it is not worthwhile. You have to accept that. It wasn't worthwhile starting second half of November 2019. It's worse today. It's not going to change. You have to. The customers can't afford to work there because the value you're delivering is not acceptable for the price you're charging, even though it's the lowest in the world. People have to see this.
I have to, um, without mentioning any names, um, there are several retailers in the United States who took the initiative on demand manufacturing business model, tied up with few companies who are, again, a couple of them are my clients. We set it up just taking a category, a product,
Mhm.
and then focusing only on that product. Men's chino pants, available in 6 colors. As far as the customer is concerned, today, most of these companies are selling a 2-inch grade, size 30, 30, 32, 34, 36, and so on, and with the inseams, rather than offering, they now offer 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 28, 28 and a half, 29, 29 and a half, and so on. Why? Because the customer can get that from the box or from the envelope and then put it on, and the garment fits perfectly. Now, a lot of us believe that we need to make huge quantities, and these productions are being done in low cost countries where they get the aggregate orders at the end of the day. They don't know whether it's 15 SKUs or 150 SKUs. It is not thinking of making one garment, it's now looking at 6 colors. I now choose the color and make that color in the production. The idea behind this thing is to change your mindset. You are going to make small quantities, and it is not going to cost you extra. It's going to cost very little extra, but everyone in the chain is going to have less risk and more profitability, including the consumer who will pay a lower price and buy it again and again.
The, the
That is a
technology, the technology, Rab, is there.
yes.
You can do 1,000 sizes in grading
Yeah.
in less than a minute.
Yeah.
That I mean, the technology is there. You have you have on demand cutting. You have teams of people who can work, or you have which I prefer over computerized machinery. You can do it in the shortest period of time, and you don't have mark. People don't see that the cost of markdown, that is the difference between the price on the hang tag and what the store actually got after all sales and discounts. That loss is greater than the entire delivery duty paid price of the garment. And you can cut that. In the States, on fashion goods, it's approaching 35%. Means $100 garment, for crying out loud, has a $35 loss because you didn't sell the goods.
Yeah.
And that has to go. And the reason why, and it's built into the system, by the way, because companies want market share, which is why, by the way, the pure play e-commerce companies are beating the hell out of it, because the e-commerce company doesn't want market share. They want to maintain integrity because they have a world market. I have 7 billion customers. My market share should be 0.001%. That's where we're moving. And the stores can do this. The stores can compete if they understand how to cost up their own garment.
Yeah. I don't want to sound that we are tooting our own horn here in Tukatalk, but I want to take an example of one company in India, Raymond's.
Mm-hmm.
Raymond's is known to be one of the largest wool suiting manufacturers.
Mm-hmm.
And they took the initiative of educating the tailors and bringing the made to measure back into the business by adopting technology and training people. And
Mm-hmm.
I got, I got to tell you something. This is an amazing initiative. I sit on their board, and I am enamored by their vision, how they are teaching these tailors the uneducated people with technology and empowering them to create an amazing business models. So many tailors are working with technology today in India and producing one of a kind men's suits, shirts, and pants, and so on. Well, this is what I call the focus. The focus is they want to do it. It's got nothing to do with capabilities of people. These tailors are not high school graduates, they are artisans. They are now using technology to enhance their operations.
The interesting
Technology
thing,
is there to do the work. Question now is how committed are you? I have
the,
only one advice for every executive in Bangladesh and India. Only one advice. Stop thinking that you are the owner and you are the executive, you are the boss. You are only there as a responsible person for the business, but you don't know anything. That's the
Ram,
attitude you're going to have to
Ram,
start with and ask people, how should we do as a team? What do
Ram,
you? Yes, sir.
Ram, you're dealing with culture, and it's really hard. We think that the greatest asset in the company are the workers. They think the workers are slaves. They think they're disposable, like broken needles and bobbins. You're going to build an industry with great technology without giving worker empowerment, without training the people, without making them part of the company. That's a long, hard pull. It's not about technology anymore. It's about a culture. I'm not.
David,
Oh,
I am from India. I remember running a company here 40 years ago with 6,000 sewing machine operators, $700 million company. And when I started in the month of October, I was told they are going to have a Christmas party. There are going to be two parties, one for the executives and the office people, and the other one for the workers. And I put my foot down. I said, no, we're going to have one factory and it's going to be one factory party. If a sewing machine operator wants to quit, and there on the other side is a secretary who wants to quit, I say goodbye to the secretary, but I go kiss ass of the operator because the operator is the one who's making money for me. The factory is my living, the other one is my overhead. We've got to identify where is our bread buttered, and we've got to
Ram,
take care of that.
you're different. You're not the general rule. I built in my life 11 factories, and when I was building factories, I was present at every exit interview because at the exit interview, when the worker's quitting and they've made up their mind, I can hear the truth.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm trapped in an office and I don't know what the hell's going on. I can tell you stories. I don't want to. I don't want to go. I don't want to go into this. But you know, yes, you are the manager of the future. It's going to be hard. Anyway,
All right. Who has more questions? Okay. Can you speak to the high cost of re-engineering a factory?
ah,
Is it feasible for all factories? Will it require government intervention?
okay, this is really interesting. To change product from one product to another, generally speaking, you have to tear down the factory and deal with four walls. But to make it a better factory, to move from doing to doing commodities, doing fashion goods, the factory has to be reorganized. It's not just a matter of the machinery; it's a matter of the layout. We have a mutual friend in Andhra Pradesh, and there was a time he was producing ladies' bras, which is basically a product of hell. And that garment traveled 1 kilometer in the factory from cutting to packing.
Correct.
I mean, they brought in engineers. And by the way, we both know he's a great engineer. He's a really
Yep.
talented man. He runs one of the great factories, but he
Yep.
brought in solid people
Yep.
and they reduced lead times in that factory on a bra to 4 days. It's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
And that is being done in India. It is
yes,
just a
that was
matter of attitude.
it
It's
was
the
the
attitude.
entrepreneur. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah. That is 100% correct. There is
you
another
can
question here. How can a country like India grow as a sustainable producer of artisan or labor intensive products against highly tech based market? I want to answer this one if I may.
offer it. Okay.
India has the ability to produce small quantities. They aspire to produce large quantities, but those days are gone. So now let's take the benefit that we actually can do small quantities, and that's what the market needs. We can add value, artisan value, which is very hard to put the number on as far as the price is concerned. So it should be a consideration for all designers to add value rather than sell a commodity. If I'm selling a t-shirt or denim pant, everybody in the supply chain knows what my cost of material is, what my cost of labor is, what my GSD value is, and what my cutting should be. And they are not going to give you more margin because you are not efficient enough. But when you have these beads and embroideries and these extras put in there, it's very hard to put the value on that. It's the price on that. Therefore, the value is the one which is going to sell. And being able to sell smaller quantities, India has a huge opportunity to break into the market. But they have to spend time in product development. They have to find technologies to be able to visualize and do the digital setups to be able to go out to the marketplace and then make what everybody buys rather than just make and then try to sell it.
You know, you raise a point here which is worth something, which is really important, rather. We've moved from garment buying, where we gave the whole thing to the factory to do, buy the fabric, buy the trim, produce the goods, to garment sourcing, where the customer went out and placed the order for the fabric and the trim, and leaving the factory to have CM. We now have open sourcing. You're right. The customer knows what the yardage is. They know the price of the material. They know everything, and what they're paying in many cases is how much I'm going to pay you per minute, and I'm going to pay you 6 cents per minute on everything you produce for me. And you'll come back in 6 months and we can renegotiate. There's no place anymore for money in your pocket. There's no place to say, well, it isn't 2 meters, it's 2.2 meters. It isn't $3, it's $3.20 because the customer knows. And you're right. You want to get into the fashion business where the customer is less interested in garment making and more interested in the service that you're going to supply. You do product development for the customer. My God, the customer will pay you for the cost. They'll pay you 50% more on profit, and they will come out with a savings of a minimum of $1.60, $1.70 on a garment. Talk about a $10 FOB garment. No,
I
this
have
is
one more. I have time for one more question. And that question came from you, David. So I
okay.
am going to answer that question.
Okay.
All right. The question was, what is the government help? And how can we have government help for the garment industry in countries like India and Bangladesh? My answer was very simple. Generally, entrepreneurs do not like any intervention, let alone any help. If they want help, they will have help from investment community, not from the governments. Governments helping nobody in the technical trade is the greatest example of how India has done without any government intervention. It was not help, it was not uh, holding back, but it was allowing people to think differently and think in an entrepreneurial way. My objective here is to have everyone think I am in the worst possible trouble right now, and how do I get out of it myself? If I get some help, that's wonderful. But let's start swimming because the other choice is drowning.
I agree. The role of government is to allow for a level playing field, not to pick one industry, one factory, one group over another. Let the market, let the customer decide. When the customer decides that the textile industry is more important than the garment industry, that's when you're in trouble. That's when you sign a free trade agreement, which allows Bangladesh to ship garments into India duty free, in
Yeah,
return for which they buy Indian fabric, which by the way is coming to an end after only 10
it
years.
is. It is. All right.